Alright, how you guys doing? This is Neil from iPaintGirls.com, and a couple people had requested, this is adjusting the camera here, a couple people have requested that I do a tutorial on the basics of pencil. So I'm going to be going through how to improve your line work and how to shade and stuff like that. So the first thing is, I do think pencils make a difference, and this pencil here is what's called a clutch pencil. So you have this little arm grabber, and it grabs the lead, and it's thick lead, like you'd find in a regular wood pencil. And it just fits in there, and this is the button to adjust it. You can buy these, I think they're called clutch pencils. You can buy them at a local art shop, or if not, you can buy them online. That's where I bought this one. It's called Scott. It's made in Italy. Works really good, but I think any brand will work. I mean, it just holds lead. It's not a big, it can't be that hard to make one of these. And so let's see here. I'll go ahead and use this piece of paper here, and just because it doesn't really matter what part of the paper I use. The first thing I want to do, also I use mechanical pencils when I want to get into more detail work. And I have different mechanical pencils. I have a 2B mechanical pencil and a 6B mechanical pencil. I typically just use 2B and 6B, and I can get all the variations of the shade that I want between those, but some people use all the pencils from 2B up to 6B. I just use those two. This is the 2B I'm starting with. Alright, so the first thing you want to work with is your line work. You want to get your line work nice. So one way to do that is to just start drawing some weird shape like this, and then to go over that shape. Go as slow as you need to go at first. And what you're practicing doing is you're really moving at the elbow here. Ooh, I don't know what just happened there. And then you can go back the opposite way. I should be working on a more smooth surface. I'm working on this cardboard box from Cintiq for my Cintiq. I usually just use it to draw on my bed, but because it's just comfortable that way to draw. Just sit Indian style on my bed. I could sit Indian style for hours and hours. Anyway, that came out pretty horrible, so I would do it again. I haven't done this. See, that's from the box. That shouldn't have happened. I could put a smooth piece of, hold on, let me get something. See my messy hair there? Oh, it shouldn't be too messy. Just need to get it cut. Right, so this is more smooth, like a smooth plastic. Right, so then you can do figure eights or whatever, just whatever shape comes to your mind, and just you just start working off that shape, and just keep tracing over and over that shape like this, and then just try a freehand type 8, and you want to get it to where it's all smooth. And I'm gonna try to see if I can get that closer. It's probably gonna blur out if I get closer though, because I don't have it on auto zoom. But what you want to do is get used to just drawing smooth, fluid lines. Like when you're drawing a drawing, right? Start with the head, let's say. Don't lift your pencil off the paper. Keep it on the paper the whole time. As you're moving your pencil around, move it around lightly, like this. Hopefully that's coming up on the camera. It looks like it is. And then, as you're moving along, making the necessary things you need, where the eyes, the nose, lips are going to be, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not lifting my pencil off the page at all. I'm just going darker or lighter. So when I move over here, I go really light because I don't want that line really to show up, and then I go harder here because I want that line to show up. And just keep going like that, and practice drawing like that, and that'll help you not do this. This is what you want to get away from doing. Line, 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 line. You want, and I see tattoo artists that try to do that. They try to pull a line, and then they try to pull a line, and they try to pull a line, and it shows up. You can actually see that it looks sketchy. It's called scratch work. So don't be a scratcher. Don't try to draw like this, because it just looks totally sloppy. I mean, you can really see the difference. Instead, if you wanted to make that shape, just pull it down, make the shape, go back over it again where you need to go back over it. Start out light, so you can kind of see if it's what you need it to be. And if you're like, hey, you know what, I kind of want it to come down here more, so then just make that darker when you want to come down more, and ignore the lighter part. And then just strengthen the lines you want to keep, and then you can erase the lines you don't want to keep, and that will look much smoother. One thing you'll see me doing, especially on my computer when I'm drawing with the Cintiq, is that it'll probably look like what I'm doing is it'll look like I'm doing this right here, but I'm not actually doing that. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm pulling a line. Let's say the overall shape is something like this, right? This kind of something like that. What I'll do is I'll come across like this, and I'll do part of it, and I might come back over it again to strengthen it. See that there's a difference between that and then doing this. There's a difference. So I'm always pulling smooth lines. And then from here, I might start right back here and just trace over that line again and start back where I left off. And then come from here and strengthen that line because that part needs to be thicker. Or I want this whole line to be thicker, so I'll pull it like this and then come back and kind of fill that in. So now that line's thicker over there. And then I'd erase the stuff that I didn't need. So to give an example real quick of that, I'm going to go ahead and do it smooth this time. Right? And I'm going to come back over a part of that. And I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to come here and strengthen this side. I want to strengthen that side a little bit more, like that. And I might go back over that with a 6B lead. And so notice the difference, how smooth that is compared to like up there, how choppy it is. Hopefully you can see the difference there on the camera. You want to help practice getting your lines smooth, it's where you draw from. You can either draw from the wrist, and so if I draw from the wrist, everything else here is staying steady. It's not moving like this. So all my hand, my fingers are staying the same. Now the wrist is good for curved lines, not straight lines though. If you want straight lines, bend at the elbow, so the wrist stays straight, all the fingers stay straight, and you're just pulling from the elbow. And so you kind of imagine the 2 points you're going to connect. Let's say you're going to connect this dot and that dot, run between them, and then just go. And that was bad, so bad execution. Dot dot, run between them a few times, and then boom, and then go under it and just try to make some parallel lines, like you're making lined paper. And that, oops, I didn't mean to fade off that, but the box, my hand went off the box, so it kind of went like that. I ran out of room. So practice doing straight lines like that. I mean, just fill up paper's worth of straight. Oops, I did that one again. Fill up paper's worth. Let me get a good straight line here. This is kind of bothering me. I want to get a nice set of straight lines. All right, so you just fill up papers of doing that. It takes some practice to get good at. Right, so then you want to practice circles, and you can start out, kind of just lightly doing the circle like this, where you can't really see it, and then just commit to the circle. And to do this, the best way to do it is again with your elbow, elbow and shoulder. Don't move your wrist or your fingers. It's the easiest way to get circles. Of course, if you're doing like a finished piece, finished drawing, I recommend actually, getting a protractor or something, because you really want that circle to be perfect. Right, so let's see. You can also make lines with just your fingers here, like this. You can actually do straight lines like that, and mainly you're using your thumb. You're pushing with your thumb and pulling with your finger just a little bit, but you're mainly pushing with your thumb. So like boom, you can't do that long of lines. Like I'm getting pretty long lines there, but typically you wouldn't do lines that long with that technique. You would just do short lines like this. And this is cool, like especially like you're doing like angled work, right? So you're drawing your head, and you're using all the techniques put together when you draw a head. So you kind of do that smooth curve like this. Kind of do the line down here. I'm gonna do the chin a little bit higher than that. Angle here, and now I'm just gonna kind of pull with those, pull those lines like that, and then smooth. Pull that line there, pull that line there, and then little line, little line, boom, like that, and you keep going. So hopefully that makes sense. How to hold a pencil, I forgot to go through that. Kind of makes a difference as well. I like to hold my pencil with these two fingers, and my thumb goes underneath it. This is to differentiate from writing. Writing, you rest it on your ring finger, and you're holding it with these three fingers. That's typically how people write. I actually write like I draw now. I just have more control that way, so that's just how I write. It took me a while to get used to this, because I used to draw like this, but my line work has so greatly improved since I've held my pencil like this. Also, I'm holding it high up on the pencil, so I'm not holding it way down here. I have more control and fluidity. It's more like a paintbrush when I work this way. And also you want to work at an angle. I'm working flat right now for the camera, but typically you would work at like a 45-degree angle, like on a drawing easel. You can even draw just straight like you'd be painting, and that takes some getting used to, but you can get some really cool line work that way. So I really recommend just trying this for a month or so, drawing every day, doing these exercises. Alright, so you're ready to move on. You've filled up, 50 pages of circles front and back. Maybe 50 pages of lines front and back, just straight lines, using this technique with your thumb and finger, using curved lines with your wrist, using straight lines with your elbow to get longer lines. You've filled up pages and pages like this. Now you're ready to move on. Well, where do you go from there? And also you filled up, like 50 pages of just doing abstract shapes like this, and then drawing over it, over and over and over it, tracing over it. By the way, if you want to get good at tattooing, either draw something really lightly or print out something really lightly, like in a really light gray, and then to get your big pen or pencil and then trace over it like this slowly, because you can't move a tattoo gun quickly. So you want to do it slowly. And if you can get nice crisp lines like this with a pencil, you don't want to use a marker though, use either a pencil or a big pen. Like that. If you can get nice smooth lines like that, notice just the dark lines, the light lines. So I kind of, before when I was doing it, like let me give you a better example. I'll just kind of do an 8 like this, right? So that's the light line. That would be what would be printed out. And then I would trace over that slowly, like I would with a tattoo gun. That part, I actually went out the lines a little bit, which is fine. You can actually do that even with a tattoo, as long as your lines look nice and smooth. Before we move on to the shading and basic pencil techniques for drawing, because there's a lot of different stuff to go over. This is the most basics of the basics. I've kind of gone over this before, but you really need to start here. I wanted to do another video starting from here anyway, because I wanted a better quality video. Hopefully this will be a better quality video. You kind of seen some of the stuff on the other underside of the paper, but hopefully it doesn't distract too much. I'm just looking for new parts of paper to draw on. Right, so the next thing then is, this is one of the most hardest techniques to master, but what you want to do is you want to master doing this. Hard to light, hard to light, hard to light, hard to light. And what happens is it feathers off. So I'm going hard, and then I'm pulling off. Hard, and I'm pulling off. Hard, I'm pulling off. You can do it slow when you're starting, just to get your muscle memory. Matter of fact, I recommend you have to kind of go slow, I think, at first. So just start off hard, and go light. Hard, and go light. Hard, and go light. This is good for different lines you're going to need in drawings. Like this is really good for hair, where you just kind of spike hair out like this at the edge of something. It's good for a lot of things. So you really want to master this technique. Hard, light, hard, light, hard, light. Good for eyelashes when you're pulling up like this. So practice that. Hard, light. Do curved lines too. Don't just do straight lines. Hard, light, hard, light. Get used to fading them off like that. So it's, however slow you need to go to get that effect. If you have to go this slow to do it, then do it. Hard, light. All you're doing is you're getting your muscle memory used to doing that. Once you do that, and you fill up a whole page, to get your muscle memory, you want to fill up a whole page front and back at least. I recommend doing like 5 pages, and that should set in the muscle memory. Then wait till the next day. Just stop doing it. Don't worry about it anymore. Wait till the next day and pick it up, and your brain should have memorized all that, and now it has that muscle memory. It really takes sleeping to like imprint this stuff in your head. So just do one thing at a time. Like fill up a whole page with just straight lines from the elbow. Wake up the next day, and now that should be imprinted in your head. And then do something else like circles. Another one. This is probably the hardest technique to learn with a pencil, in my opinion. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. And notice I'm not getting straight lines. I'm going up. I should have been going this way. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. And I can do light to hard. Light to hard. Man, that part of the paper is goofed out. Light to hard. Light to hard. Light to hard. Light to hard. And hard to light. Hard to light. Hard to light. That's easy to do. But this one is so difficult to do. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. Light, hard, light. And in fact, I never really trained my brain to do that. I never really use it. But it's good for like hair strands. Like you want to start here where the hair's coming out, and it's like light and then hard and then light. And so it's good for that. And I have to kind of, do it slow like that. I can do them, but I have to do them slow like that. So it can add a really neat variation to your line work, though. Even if, like, let's say I have an arm, right? Let me get a different piece of paper. Let's say I have an arm, and I'm going to do like the basic circle for the shoulder, part, tapered cylinder for this part of the arm, and then something like that for the forearm, right? That's the underdrawing, let's say. And I want to strengthen. This is going to be my line I'm going to use. So I would go like light, hard, light, like that, and kind of just fade off. And that adds a neat look. And I can go light, hard, light. And if I had a pen doing that, it really gives, you can really see that effect. It looks really cool. And you can do like light, hard, and then just stop there, and then go light, hard, light, and light, hard, light. And it adds a neat variation. Then you can go back over some of these lines over here and just strengthen, oops, I didn't mean to come back up. Strengthen that notice I'm going in one direction, and I'm just pulling the line work. So this isn't sketchy as long as you're tracing over those lines perfectly. You'll get that nice look to it. And so anyway, line weight is so important when drawing, so keep that in mind. Let's say then I want to add a shadow. What I recommend doing for shadows is, even if you're going to do realism work, is start with the shadow line. So let's say it comes like this, and then it kind of follows the bicep sort of like that, and then it kind of comes up here for this muscle, and then it kind of comes across like something like this. Let's say that's sort of the shape of the shadow line. So I draw on the shadow line very loosely, very lightly, and then I shade this in, and I'm using the flat. You're not going to be able to see this on the camera, I don't think, but I'm using that flat part. How I have this sharpened on the sandpaper. I put it on the sandpaper like this, and I sharpen it like this on the sandpaper. That way I get a nice flat edge. That way I can have sharp edges when I draw with the side of it, and I can even have a, you know, almost like a, what's it called, those pens? Starts the calligraphy pens, so it kind of has that edge, if I want that edge. And I can turn it all the way over and just have a nice sharp edge. And then I can turn it this way and have that flat edge to shade with. So hold it at a really almost flat to the surface, and then just shade with that flat edge. And start with just one tone at first. You're just trying to get one smooth tone all the way across inside that shading area. There's a couple little gaps, don't really worry about that so much. This is a neat shading technique. If you go out of the lines a little bit, don't even worry about it. You can just go back and erase it. It's not a big deal. Like that, right? So now I have my nice smooth shading. And let's say there's a little bit of shadow that comes on this side over here. Notice I always draw the shadow line first, and then I kind of fill it in. Like so. Then you can, you know, smooth it with your finger if you want. And now it's going to look really smooth. But let's say I wanted to take it past the comic and I want to make it more realism. Well, you can work from realism. Then you keep using that technique, but just little small circles or back and forths, you know, cross hatching. But I'm just filling in the darkest darks now, and then I'm fading out. As I'm coming up here, I'm getting lighter with my pencil. So I'm pressing down kind of hard at first to get that dark part, and then I'm coming up and fading lightly, like so. And everywhere I see that, you know, I would need darker darks and lighter lights, I just slowly fill it in with little circles or little back and forth strokes. I usually mix up between that and just kind of blend all that together, and then you can kind of blend out on the edge there if you wanted to, just a little bit. I'm just pulling in one direction. When I'm pulling back here, I'm not touching the paper. I'm only touching the paper when I'm pulling away from me like this. And also you can use a blending stick for that to get nice smooth lines coming outwards. And a blending stick looks like this. You can buy these at an art store. You can also use a brush, an actual paintbrush. This is a piece of paper that's rolled up, and I don't know what kind of paper they use for this, but it's really good to, you know, blend your line work and everything and just make it nice and smooth. And this will pick up the, you can just purely shade with just this if you wanted to. Like, I'm just kind of rounding all that out, getting rid of the hard edges. Like so. And then you can just continue working like that and building up the shading. And you know, once I have taken this pencil, because you don't want to push too hard on the paper. Oops. If you push too hard on the paper, you start to like damage the paper itself. So you don't want to push too hard on the paper. Just hard enough. Once I have taken this pencil and to as far as it's going to go, and I still want more, depth, I'm just slowly filling all this in, little circles and back and forth. And I'm going in the direction of the arm itself, so that's important, I think. When you're doing, strokes, make sure you pull in the direction of the muscles and everything. That way, if there is some line work in there, it matches what you're working on. Alright, now once I've taken that to its level, then I'll take a darker lead. In this case, this is 6B, which is really soft, so it's going to be super dark. This gives almost like a just black pigmentation. And I would take out the 2B lead, the harder lead, put in the softer lead, and then I would, sharpen it, and I would continue those little circles, and, where are my darkest darks at? Where's like that real shadow line going to be at? Now I'm just making this up in my head, so I'm not actually looking at anything right now. It's little circles, and then I'm using flow lines where I'm flowing with the shape of the object I'm working with. I'm just pulling down some lines there, going over, pulling up into it a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of a hard line right there. I want it to be kind of darker. Maybe right here. And so forth. So as you can see, that's how I would do it, and you can just keep building up your shading work that way. It comes out a lot darker, I think, on the camera than how I see it, because I'm looking at the camera, it looks a lot darker than what I just did. I'm going to get my 2B back again. Okay, so this is at 21 minutes so far, and I think I've covered, the basics of what you need to do for as far as, how to get your line work better and how to get your shading better, the different techniques to use to get your shading nice. You can even do another line if there's different segments of hard and light lights. I can draw another shadow line within the shadow line, and then, work away from that. I'm going to kind of just do a nice shade. You can leave some texture if you want.